Candidates literally knew I was new and I wouldn't know what I was talking about. Like I wouldn't know what a data scientist would do. I wouldn't know what a machine learning engineer would do.
Hello, and welcome back to another video. As you can see from the title, one of the best ways that you can work with me or other freelance recruiters agencies is by doing splits. If you have a client and you're having a really tough time fulfilling, or you have candidates, you really want to present more options, doing a split with an effective recruiting partner can be an amazing way to do all of that, not to mention also add additional revenue, consistent income to your annual performance already. So this is a story where I had a chance to work with, and I continue to work with, a rock star recruiter, did a placement together last year. We each made about $19,000 from it and looking to do a lot more this year. This is his story, filled with a lot of great valuable nuggets and insights, and I hope you enjoy. So happy to have you on, Steve, the founder and operator of Essensa Search. How's it going?
It's going, man. It's going. You and me are in the same boat, busy as always, trying to get deals done today, tomorrow, and the rest of the year. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time. It's an interesting time, but we're pushing. We have to in today's day and age, you never know what's going to happen. So we just got to get as much as we can going in the pipeline.
What's your outlook been this year in 2023 so far? What are you seeing?
It's super competitive, I feel like, and I feel like companies, it's not too hard for companies to find talent in today's market. That's my outlook, especially the bigger companies like to keep things very much internal right now. I think the startups are getting neglected a little bit, and that's where us recruiters can really come in and help them out. But I think it's super competitive still for the market that I'm in, which is like tech recruiting. I think, we just, as a recruiter, you just have to double down in a market like this.
Yeah, you and me both. It's been a crazy ride. I know I was sharing with you a little bit before we started talking, but in 2023, I can't count how many deals fell through the cracks, lost right at the final round, and it's been frustrating. I would say I've been doing this a long time, and the amount of counter offers, the amount of candidates not showing up, the amount of people ghosting, the amount of people interviewing even after accepting an offer, it's just reached new levels, and so continues to astound me. And I agree with you. I think startups, certainly, the ones that are scaling could use help. I think the bigger companies, the enterprise ones, are the ones that are really just not hiring at all or trying to go the other way and cut costs, and they're very
Mhm.
bloated.
Yeah.
And I also agree with you too. There's a lot of talent in the market, but the issue is that a lot of the talent is coming from all these big tech and bigger companies with much higher salary. And the talent, a
Mhm.
lot of them, they don't want to compromise, right? And a lot of the startups can't come up as high. So either the startups have to come higher or the talent have to come lower. Somehow they have to meet each other in the middle. And so that, I think, is kind of creating a little difficult situation. But anyway, I think this is certainly going to continue for the rest of this year.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
we definitely have a work cut out for ourselves, Steve. But I want to, before we talk about that more, just want to kind of introduce you to the audience. Like, how long have you been recruiting, and how did you get started? Like, what's the download?
Yeah, I'll try to keep things short on that side. I haven't been doing it for a long time, honestly. Maybe if you want to take it by experience, maybe this is like 2 years, 3 years, give and take. But I started off just like right out of college. I got hit up by a recruiting agency and I didn't know anything about the space. I didn't know anything about tech recruiting or like healthcare recruiting. I had no idea what it was. And they were like, yeah, you have a 24-hour notice to let us know if you want to accept the offer. And I felt pressured at that situation. So I was like, all right, fine. I'll just do this job. I'll see what it's like. Fast forward, this is right. This is like 2019. I get into the office, everybody's in the office every single day. They're like, hey, we're going to put you in data science and machine learning. And I was like, oh, sounds pretty cool. And it's a up and coming market. At that time, it was super popular. And a lot of companies was really getting into data science and implementing data science into their practice. So I was like, yeah, this is exciting. And we had a ton of jobs. Everything was going well. Or I'm sorry, this is 2020, beginning of 2020. And then, yeah, COVID happened and every single client came in and they were like, yeah, we're going to stop everything. So early on I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to get business for myself? How am I going to get business for the team? It was either like sink or swim type of mode that I was in. Yeah, that was all the way up until the end of 2020. Went through crazy things like candidates accepting the job finally, and then like there next week I get a call from the hiring manager, like, this candidate moved to Europe, and he just ghosted everybody after a week. And I was like, this is the weirdest thing that happened in this day and age. So early on, I feel like I went through some weird situations, but that's then I said to myself, I kind of understand the game, and why not give it a shot on my own? But I was always hesitant to pull the trigger, so I just kept pushing it off every month, and then finally, I was like, why not? Like, let's just do it. I got a little bit of money saved up. I'm gonna, get an LLC, set up the attorney paperwork, and like get the tools I need for recruiting, and then I just, you know, jumped, I guess.
Cool. So was this job, was it a full desk job?
Yeah, it was a full desk job. Yep.
And they're in healthcare or tech? Oh, you said
So
data science, right?
not just data science, they had like an energy sector, they had health tech, so like biostatistics and things like that. They also had like a cybersecurity side to it too. So they had
And
like five different teams, but I was on the data science team.
you were on the data science team, but working with companies across like all sectors, seems like, right? From bio to healthcare to tech,
Yeah, yeah.
as long
So
as they're hiring data science.
data science or machine learning. Yep, pretty
Oh,
much.
how big was your team? Like your immediate team?
My team was like about 6 people at the
Mhm.
time.
And then was it like a salary job? Was it a salary and commission? Was it a draw? Like how did they structure everything?
Yeah. So it was kind of now it's easy to look back and be like it was weird, but it was a base salary. It was like 40K base, and the rest was like commission based. But the commission was like, the first three deals that you do goes to the hiring manager. And I didn't know anything about it at the time. I was like kind of weird about it. I was like, all right, fine. I guess it's kind of like a rookie thing. When you come in, you just kind of eat it. But yeah, so first three deals, kind of mostly all the commission side went mostly to the hiring manager. And then the rest, yeah, it's on like a split. And then the higher that you gross, the next split level that you go to. So like for example, 20% you get, and then 40% after a certain gross.
It's complicated. I think like the more and more I hear about other people's experience in agencies, there's like literally unlimited different types of compensation plans that you can come up with. And it's like salary or salary commission or draw commission, commission only. Like it's just mind boggling. But then the vast majority of them just sound horrible. Right? It's like, you work so hard and you hardly get anything in return. And so that's not the best for obviously like retention and just motivation in general. So
Yeah, yeah.
so then you kind of did this, right? 2020, which is obviously when the world turned upside down. And was this like your first time working for yourself, or have you worked for yourself before?
I kind of did. I did real estate right before this.
Okay.
I was like a real estate agent during my college years, my last 2 years in college.
Oh, why didn't you continue that?
It was the thing with real estate is like it's the same concept in with recruiting too, in the fact that you're a broker at the end of the day between two sides. The fact is that my gas, I would look at the gas bill every day, and I would be like, I'm losing like $60 on gas every single week, just refilling it, going to houses, getting no's from clients. I remember one client I worked with in real estate took me around to like 30 homes and then just completely ghosted me. So I was thinking, why not? You can just do the same thing in like a sales job or like a recruiting job, except you can just chill at home and do it. You don't have to drive around town. Sometimes you would have to drive out 40 minutes to the other side of like New Jersey, just to, get try to close the deal.
That's funny because I actually almost thought I was this close to becoming a real estate agent before I
No
became a
way,
recruiter.
no
Yeah.
way.
And I love real estate. I love homes. I'm sure you've
Awesome.
seen the $1 Million Listing show on Netflix and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And Selling Sunset, I think that's another big one on the West Coast. But yeah, I kind of thought of it the same way too. I'm like, we do the same thing, but with real estate, you have to work 7 days a week. The weekend's actually the most important time during the week. And you have to literally get up and physically go around all around town or wherever your market is. While in recruiting, we just can sit on our butt, sit at home. All we need is a computer and internet, and we can still make equivalent or maybe a comparable compensation from it. So I'm like, it just makes sense. And I work on the weekends, but I'm like, I like to work on the weekends because I want to, not because I have to, right? And so, oh, that's really, really cool. Do you think you'll ever do something with real estate again in the future, or you might go
Uh,
back?
to to be honest, I don't think so. Honestly,
What
if
what if you
it's
get like a what if you get like an EV and you save $60 a week on gas?
if somebody can cover, if my clients can cover my gas bill, then I will 100% get back into it. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like real estate taught me a lot about what I know now about entrepreneurship, or like kind of doing solo stuff. I mean, like when I first started out, I was like in real estate. I didn't know much about the game, and I didn't know how to get clients. I didn't really have connections like that. So it kind of teaches you to figure out, okay, like how are you gonna get clients in the pipeline, and figure out how to get listings, and figure out how to find buyers. It kind of makes you jumpstart your career. And so I'm forever grateful to that. But honestly, I don't think I would get back into it. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe if I knew somebody and it would be easy transaction, then I can refer somebody to somebody. But yeah, as a full time, I don't think so.
Yeah. I think I want to ask about what you did before because, you just doing recruiting for a year and then jumping to working for yourself, that's a ballsy move. And if you've never worked for yourself, I'm like, wow, either like you're super confident or you are semi-reckless or maybe a combination of the above, you just went for it. But like now understanding your background with like real estate and you already had exposure to kind of a full cycle, sales role, kind of business development role like that. I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. You kind of had a taste of it before, and that's how it wasn't as scary as it was for regular people without any sales or startup or real estate background starting
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
anew. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like same with me. Like I did a lot of sales. I had my attempt of running my own startup and failed. And so like when I decided to start my own agency, like you, like it was scary. It was nervous. It's of course risky, but like it wasn't as like, I didn't have analysis process because I kind of knew I knew what to expect. I had like really tough skin from previous experience before. And this time I kind of knew the tools and systems and how to get off and running. So I was a lot more confident this time around. But like, if you went through it the first time, it can be very intimidating. Would you have started your agency if you've never worked as a recruiter before? What if like you were a real estate agent and maybe you stumbled upon my videos on YouTube and you're like, oh, recruiting, never heard of it. This sounds exciting. I want to start. Do you think you can muscle your way into it? Or was having a job, learning the ropes for at least a year super helpful?
That's a really good question. And by the way, your videos were really good at really kickstarting things off, right? So if there's any recruiter out there that's looking at Preston's videos and thinking, man, this is motivating me to start my own thing, definitely you should consider it. But I will say this, it made my job 100 times easier just having an agency background. Just because like experience is experience at the end of the day, and the one thing that you can't knock is experience. So, going through the trials, going through the hardships, you really don't know what it feels like until you go through it. How to find candidates, how to fill up a pipeline. If you think that you're going to have a good pipeline with like three candidates that are interviewing, next week comes around and they're all gone. And you have nobody else to in your back end. Like all of these, there's so many different things that you have to take into account when starting a recruiting agency. And being in a full desk situation, you're kind of like your own boss, and or like a solo entrepreneur in your own kind of way. And you have to figure out a lot of these things on the back end. So I would really recommend somebody, get some agency experience. If not, like try to get some internal recruiting experience with a company, really understand, okay, what hiring managers want, what do they like, what do they don't like, how do I even find candidates out there, how do I do copywriting, messaging, how do I get good at digital marketing itself. So once you figure that out, trust me, it will be an easy transition into doing your own thing. But you know if you want to, you can jump into it without knowing it, but I would really recommend getting that experience firsthand.
Yeah, like conceptually, we are a broker, similar to real estate agents, right? And if you look at real estate, theoretically it makes sense. It's not that hard to understand. I need to get a property to sell and I need to find people who buy, right? Same thing with us. We need to find companies who are hiring and talent who are looking for jobs. And you can probably muscle your way, but you could probably lose a lot of time, lose a lot of money on irrelevant tools, not knowing what the heck you're doing, not building the business set up for success sustainably over the long term. It can just get very, very messy, right? Or you'll just burn out super fast. But like I was kind of very interested with your answer because I'm in a position now and I'm lucky where people reach out to me saying, hey, I'm interested in starting an agency. And my first honest to God recommendation is go get a job. You might hate it, right? Either on the agency or intern side, just try it out. Because here's the thing: a lot of agency guys want like maybe I should start my own thing. A lot of internal recruiting people saying maybe I should start my own thing. With the agency, right? There's three things. You have to learn how to be able to find talent. So like if you're already internal recruiter, you might know how to do that. You also have to know how to find business, like with any business out there. Maybe if you're an agency full desk world, you kind of have a taste of doing that. But I think the third thing, the most important thing that people overlook and never talk about is at the end of the day, you're running a business. And there's a lot more to recruiting agency than
Totally.
just biz dev and candidates. And this can be applied to any business, marketing business, e-commerce business, SaaS business. Like I think it's the psychological and emotional strength that you need every single day to be on your A game and to not get emotionally down and having to adapt to market conditions, to difficult clients and candidates over and over and over again, compounded over weeks and months. I think that is something that people underestimate when it comes to recruiting agencies. Like, oh, I can just, find candidates, I can just find clients, and that's it. I can run a successful business. But that's great if you know how to do that. But I think if you're looking to make a business for long term, sooner or later, you're going to have to really learn how to develop that tough skin or like that mental fortitude. And it's something that even I, get challenged with as well. And this is from someone just running a very small business. I can't imagine, running a business with 20, 50, 100 people, but it's the same thing on a bigger scale, like payroll, like expenses, overhead, right? Like it's just stressful, anxiety driven stuff. And I appreciate you saying like really nice words about my videos. I just try to be as transparent as possible, but what people don't see is like when the camera's off,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
we work long hours, man, and we work on the weekends. And I try to make it clear on my videos the first couple of years, especially my first year in working for myself. I would easily work 7 days a week, like 8, 9, 10 hours a day, like period. And if you're not willing to work that hard, if you're not willing to make sacrifices, if you still want to have a regular 9 to 5 outlook, it's possible, but unlikely, especially if you want to build a business from the ground up in this market. You just have to like be consumed by it, right? And so I just want to kind of make that really, really clear. There's a lot more than just biz dev and candidates. It's all about like, hey, like, do you have the toughness here to stick around for the long term? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and to just kind of say a little bit more about that, like Preston brings up a great point in the last one right there, which is like it's also a business that you have to run. So you can't really go to anybody else. Nobody really cares if you're doing good or bad. You have to kind of look out for yourself and really have that tough skin. Because John that's sitting won't be like, hey, I need to fill 4 machine learning engineer jobs, want to help me out. So you have to, when you go through like these highs and lows with your business development, I think, you always have to look out for yourself, keep your pipeline full and healthy, and always constantly fill the pipeline with good candidates, good jobs to work with. Because when you're starting out, you don't really have a relationship with clients or candidates, so you don't really know what the future is going to be like. I can't sit here and say, oh, I've already done 15 deals with this client. Right. So you have to get as much going into the pipeline as well and really work really fast. I can't stress how important speed is in today's market. My mindset is always like, if they're willing to work with somebody like me, that means they're probably working with like 5 to 6 other agencies as well. And maybe not. Maybe I spec'd in a really good candidate and they probably want to work with me. But I always like to assume, I don't like to be favorable to my assumptions. I always like to assume kind of like they're working with 5, 6, 8 other agencies. I got to go. I got to get things done fast. I got to maybe get If they say yes to me, I got to get candidates in the pipeline by like tomorrow. So, it's a fast moving space in today's day and age. So,
I love that you said that because like I talk about this all the time. Speed is everything. And 100%, I would say 9 out of 10 clients I meet, if they're willing to work with me, they're most likely working with Steve. They're most likely working with 10 other Prestons. And speed is the name of the game because even if they aren't, they're still like, hiring people through their own network. They still have job boards. They still have inbound coming in. So like really, like people have to understand just because you get a client doesn't mean your life is set. Now you're against the clock to fulfill that, competing against other tools and partners out there. And so like I think speed is 100% super, super important. I think consistency is very, very important. And I think what you said, Steve, building that pipeline, because like for me, I
mhm.
never bank on one candidate. I always want to have a plan B, plan C, plan D. So if something, if the candidate gets rejected, we still have that pipeline, right?
Right, right.
Engaged
Mhm.
instead of starting from scratch. So really cool. I
Exactly.
definitely vibe with a lot of things that you're saying. So what market are you working now? Are you still doing data science or you kind of doing a little bit of everything?
I do mostly like software engineering that is applicable to any real market. So like tech, biotech, like crypto a little bit. I'm getting into crypto a little bit. I had some projects a couple months ago with crypto. But yeah, anything like software engineering can really fit into any market, really. So any market with that. Software engineers, data scientists, machine learning engineers.
So for people that like, if you're gonna pick up or work in a market that you don't really know too much about, what do you do to like learn the market really well? Do you have any recommendations and tips?
Yes. I would keep up with the news really well with what's going on in the tech industry there. And honestly, you will learn so much just by talking to candidates themselves. Like you don't need to. I think the one thing that I did in the beginning was like I was very vulnerable. I was saying I like candidates literally knew I was new and I wouldn't know what I was talking about. Like I wouldn't know what a data scientist would do. I wouldn't know what a machine learning engineer would do. So really understand what the roles that you're targeting, what they really do, and how are they seeing the marketplace as well? Like, are they getting interviews? Who are they speaking to? Are they speaking to startups and mid-sized companies? And that's the best use of your time as well, because you can kind of, how do you say it? The two birds with one stone thing. Yeah. You can always, qualify them, understand what's going on in the marketplace, what do they do, things like that. And if you don't know, just ask them. Most candidates are pretty cool like that. They'll tell you. It's also like a symbiotic relationship. Like you give and they give you information back. So up until you feel comfortable, I wouldn't mind just really understanding what the candidates have to say about what's going on in the market.
Mhm. I think listening to the candidate is key because you are talking to like a living, breathing professional in that market. So whatever they say, you want to be able to listen carefully and then Google or chat GPT or whatever, everything that they're saying you don't
Yeah,
understand. So you
GPT.
understand it as much as possible. And so like, what are your like, the reason why I also want to share your story is like you and I, we had a really great just a partnership going on. And I think for people who are listening, you don't have to have a team of 10 or 20 or 30, recruiting agency, entrepreneurial recruiting, freelance recruiting. I think there's a lot of pressure for people to, oh my God, success means I have to like hire like 3, 5, 20 people. No, like if you are a freelancer, you have a team of one, you have a team of two or three, but you guys are killing it every year and you have a great work-life balance, great book of business. In my mind, that is as successful as a team of like 10 where they're still doing the same thing. Maybe the numbers are much larger, but so are the overheads and burns and the stress as well, right? And so I think like a business is successful if you can be around for 2, 3 years, you're profitable. And I don't care how big or small you are, but I think one of the great things about recruiting is that you can have a very successful and pretty awesome life just being a freelance recruiter. And so one of the ways that we help each other is helping out with either clients or helping with candidates, what we call like splits. That's the simplest way of saying it. And so Steve and I, we had a very successful one last year with the software engineer candidate. We also were so close to doing another one a couple weeks ago. But it's a really good opportunity for those that are kind of getting the market wet. It adds consistency, consistent revenue to a very unstable, inconsistent business model, especially if you know all you're doing is full-time placements, contingency. We don't have like a stable monthly subscription coming in or revenue coming in. And so like I want to ask you like what has your experience been like? And you know, I really definitely enjoy working with you, and I think the caliber of talent that you find are absolutely fantastic, and you understand the criteria really well. So yeah, just want to kind of get the ball to you and kind of see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super lucky. When I first came in, I found Preston online and I was like, this guy definitely seems like a really good guy. I would love to do business with him and try to see if I can help with any of his roles. The thing that I will say about partnerships is like you have to be very careful who you decide to work with. And you don't want to be sending out like 25 different candidates to somebody that you've just started a relationship with. Because I'll be honest, I've been burned like that before, right? So like you have to know, how, if they're willing to give you time, the energy, are they giving you feedback on the candidates as well? But it's a really good option. Like, I think 50% of something is still something. Really expanding the pool of candidates and showing your client like, hey, we have all different types of candidates coming in and from like good companies, from startup companies, from large companies, you pick, we have great talent that we can get for you. And by expanding that horizon, by including other referrals, I think that's awesome, honestly. But yeah, if I were to say to somebody that's jumping into referrals, definitely don't like 100% go with it. I would say like feel it out because you will be burned and you will use a lot of resources just by sending like 25 different resumes to one guy like I have and just don't hear anything back. So feel it out and really be hyper targeted as well because you want to provide good results with the person. Like if you're sending candidates that are, that don't really fit the bill, then that relationship is not going to be as strong as, it can possibly be.
Well said. I think the unfortunate thing about the recruiting agency world is that it's like super fragmented, but also like people, they don't really care about other people. Like other agencies don't really
Mhm.
care about other agencies. Like everyone is kind of like this, super protective. And they're like, whatever system I have, I don't want to learn anything else. Whatever clients I have, I'd rather just do everything and just be like secretive and shady and protective. And I think like that's unfortunate because if it works really well, it could be a beautiful thing. It could be amazing. It's good for the partner, you. It's good for more income, you. It's great for the candidates for presenting them with more options. It's great for your client because you're presenting them with a healthier inbound of great candidates. Like in my mind, it's a win-win. And
Mhm.
yes, 50% is better than zero, which is still not as good as 100, but 50% across a handful of deals is still very lucrative and really great revenue wise than just zero, right? And so like
Yeah.
that's kind of the mindset I had. And I think one of the reasons why we clicked well so together is like we just have a lot of similar values and thoughts. And so but unfortunately like that's the hard truth. Like you can partner with somebody and it just doesn't go anywhere, or that person just may be trying to steal your client, maybe trying to steal your candidate, and there's just not a lot of trust out there, and you have to form a lot of trust. And so I feel like I lucked out big time with you, and it's cool when it works out. It's like the best thing ever because, like, say that maybe you have a client that asks for candidates in a market you haven't worked with, but perhaps you're partnered with a recruiter who's worked in that market. You immediately have access to talent, right? And so I think the upside is unlimited. The downside is unfortunate, but like for all the recruiters out there who have clients that they're struggling with or have candidates they want to present more options, like it's an awesome thing if you can work with other partners in similar markets that you can just gel together. But yeah, you have to be super super careful.
Yeah, definitely be careful. And I think as a recruiter, you should value long-term relationships. That's not just with like, Preston and I's relationship, but that's with like hiring managers, that's with candidates as well. You don't want to leave things off in a bad note because I'll say this, like one client or two clients can really make or break your career as a recruiter. They'll keep feeding you good roles, they'll keep having good relationships with you. They'll respond to you. So like I had one client back in my other recruiting job where, they would give out like 35 roles. But the thing is like they wouldn't really respond to us because they gave out those 35 roles to like other agencies as well, right? And we wouldn't have a really good tight relationship versus like a startup that would give us like one or two jobs, but they would constantly give us jobs because they were a startup and they were growing and they went through funding and things like that. Me personally, I would value that relationship a little bit more just because of the long-term relationship that we can build and just like seeing the candidates actually you place grow into that role as well. And then they become higher ups. And it'll be cool for you to say, you know, I think it would be it's super important to value long-term relationships.
For sure. We're a relationship business. I think if you're just coming in here to make a quick buck and you're trying to make shortcuts and burn every single relationship's candidates included, it's just going to bite yourself in the foot or shoot yourself in the foot
Mm,
or bite yourself in the butt in the future, right? Because candidates, if you don't place them now, if they have a good experience with you, they might become a client. They might become the perfect candidate in the future for another role. So it's really important to be professional, and then to really play the long-term game and focus on that relationship because it may not work out in the short term or
yeah,
currently or present, but it could pay off loads and loads in the future.
for sure. 100%. 100%.
What are some of your biggest tips when it comes to developing relationships with new clients?
Oh man, that is a good one. I think like it's hard because it's like, you know, how did you get your girlfriend? And it's like, I don't know, you know. But it's always like providing value, right? At the end of the day, we have to provide value to people. And I think the biggest tip that I ever received when trying to build a relationship with a client is like if you send an email out to somebody and it's more generic, like, hey, I'm Steve with dissensasearch.com. If you have any hiring needs, let me know. I don't think I would, me personally, respond to that because CEOs and VP of products have 100 things on their mind and they already have an internal team probably that's looking after that. So what I would say is like, you know, try to really personalize your messages, provide value in that respect, really figure out maybe they have a job description already online and maybe you already have a candidate that fits the bill. So be like, hey, you know, I have this candidate. She comes from a great background. Like you said, 2 years experience, 3 years of experience you're looking for, Python experience. What do you think about a fit for your team? It doesn't always work, but I always see that being like the best way possible for really connecting with hiring managers, CEOs, founders. Try to focus on how can I make this person's life easier. And if you can do that, then I think that would be the best bet as a recruiter.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I mean, like you want to provide value. The only downside of that is like if we find someone that we think could be the perfect fit, the hiring manager might not necessarily think it's the perfect fit in their eyes, right? But then
Yeah.
that's a small risk. But I think the chances of you getting a response, even it could be a no, is still much higher than just them simply ghosting or ignoring you, right?
Right, right. And
Uh,
I love getting responses. Like most of the time when I do that, I get no's, right? So I don't always get people coming back to me and be like, Steve, yes, I want to interview them right away. You know, it's maybe like once or twice, but most of the time it's always like, no, you know, I need somebody with this, or like, no, we have an internal agency. Whatever it is, you just need to start that conversation and really go from there.
exactly. Value is really the key word. Try to see yourself in their shoes, right? And if you like create an email and you're like, if someone said this to me, would I respond? If the answer is no, you probably shouldn't send it. Or if you do, you're probably
Yeah.
wasting your time. What are some of your tools that you like to use to get candidates? Because you know your candidates have been bang on in terms of just being accurate in terms of targeting. So, what are some of your favorite tools that you use day to day? What are some tips on trying to find fantastic targeted candidates?
Like I use LinkedIn Sales Navigator a lot. I use LinkedIn Recruiter a lot as well. And then I use like the sequence sender as well. So it just sends out sequences to people's. They find like this is more on the BD side. They find out people's work email, and then you just send out a sequence to them, and that's called like Mailchimp, I believe. Yeah, I use that. So Mailchimp, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, LinkedIn Recruiter as well. I think that's really it. That's
Yeah,
really
those
all
are
you
the big
need.
ones. So
And
like, do
then
you
I
know
don't.
how much like you're spending every month on just expenses just to operate?
It's not that much. It's maybe like a couple $100 a month.
Oh, nice.
Um, Obviously like the more emails that you get or like the more, you know, that you purchase in mails and things like that, the higher it will go. But, you know, I don't think I'm spending over like 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, running a kind of a small agency or freelance, it doesn't have to be super expensive. You just have to know what tools to use, and that can only come from if you had a job before, or you learn from someone else, maybe like a good online vetted course. But like, yeah, if you don't have any experience, I can see like I know LinkedIn and tech is like an OG, right? It's like one of the products you have to use. But like if I never had any tech recruiting experience or even worked at an agency, I would have no idea where to start, right? Because if you Google best agency recruiting tools, there's like hundreds out there. And I can see so many people wasting so much money and time on these tools that a lot of them are just not going to push the needle anywhere. It's very overwhelming.
Yeah, honestly, just have a strategy of like what you want to do, and then you don't even like I don't even use an I use the ATS, I use HubSpot a little bit, but like most of it, the things I got in processes going on, like candidates in this process, I just use on a single like Google Sheets document. And that's really it. And I just track everything on that. Yeah, that's you don't need to buy the fancy recruiting stuff, like that's super expensive. I think the bare minimum is good. And then once you really want to scale and like pipelines get big and like maybe you want to send more emails, then you can start spending. But honestly, trust me when I say this, you don't need to spend that much money when you start out.
So what are your normal work hours during the day?
I'm like a night owl, man. I start super late. So I start like 10 a.m. and then I go all the way to like nighttime. So I go to like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. or 8 p.m., 9 p.m. and then sometimes a little bit over after that too. Yeah, that's just my routine. I know it's probably not the best routine out there. I think, waking up early and things like that maybe is the best routine. But yeah, so like the first couple hours of the day, I don't really do any candidate calls. It's just strictly for like business development, um, finding clients, emailing hiring managers, and then after like 12:30, I start the calls.
Wow. And then so you answered my next question, like how do you structure your day? So BD in the morning and then kind of canvas stuff the rest of the day.
Yeah, yeah. Candidates, clients, that's all in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's pretty similar to me. I think like in recruiting, like you can always do something, right? Especially if you work for yourself, you can always reach out to more companies, you can always reach out to more candidates. Like it's just literally never ending. So it's really up to us to be like, I'm gonna have lunch now, I'm gonna have dinner now, I'm gonna sleep now, or it's the weekend, I'm gonna disengage for my own sanity. And I think that's like the tough part if you're not good at that.
I'm so
Not
bad at it. Like even today, I didn't even eat anything today yet.
yeah, no, it's
That
not
is that is
good.
the reality, and it's not good. I think that's something more I can improve. Like that's another thing that, we can talk about another day, which is like your mental health and making sure that you're taking care of yourself in this crazy time. Always like get out, exercise or go outside, take breaks, because it will push you for the long term. Everything about this is about long term. So I definitely think, always look out for yourself in that respect. Like say 12 o'clock, I'm going to have lunch, or like say 8 o'clock, I'm going to stop and spend time with your kids and your wife or whoever. So have those disciplinary practices is always good too.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, I'm so happy you said that. And this it just goes back to what I was saying before. Like you have to treat this like a business. And the self-care, especially the longer you do this, is so key because like on social media, it's so easy to glorify business owners and entrepreneurs. But a part of me is like, why the heck do you want to run a business? Like, yes, like it could seem sexy to yourself, to your friends, or whatever. You can maybe make, a lot more money than a regular job. That's all true. But it can take a toll. Like if you don't expect like what's about to hit you, like this the mental health, the emotional health, the psychological health, like it's not for everybody. And I think for people that are in it, like it doesn't get easier. You just have to learn better coping mechanisms or better strategies for yourself and how to manage better time manage, how to manage your emotions. But it's tough. Like it's tough. And so when I meet people and they're like, I want to own a business one day, I'm like, dude, like why? Right? Like you have to really be 1,000% sure you want to own a business because it's tough. Yes, you get more of the glory, more of the things that society celebrates, but it also
Yeah.
comes with more of like the anxiety and the stress and the burnouts and breaking of relationships, breaking of social life, like everything that right? Because it could be all consuming. Yeah, for me, I wake up just a little bit earlier than you, Steve. But but for me,
I
like
think I think 97% of America does.
I make an effort to wake up because like I work out before work. So like to me, like that's the best time of the day where it's
Yeah.
almost like meditating and focusing on my health. I don't have to think about anything else. It's just peace before the craziness of the day starts. But hey, you got to find something that works for you. I tried working out or midday. I tried doing it after work, but I think the morning is still the best for me. And trying my best to, of course, shut off at a reasonable hour. But it's not easy. And you know, people are listening. They have suggestions. You know, feel free to let us know what works best for you because I'm still looking for the perfect system for myself. And I think it's something that I will just continue to search for into the future.
Yeah, yeah. I think, what time do you usually get up? Around 8, 9?
No, 8. I try to wake up around on a, probably before when I first started, I was super hardcore. I think it was like 5:30.
Mm.
Now I think it's like more like 6:30. Sometimes I push it to 7 if I'm like really tired. But I like to have a good like hour and a half at the gym, and my gym also has like a jacuzzi and stuff. So working out, man, and going in the hot tub before work is like the best thing ever. It just
I know, and
relaxes
then you're
you,
like, you don't have to think about it the rest of the day.
right?
Just me, I'm like, oh, I got to get that hour, and I got to get that hour, and you know what? Maybe tomorrow. But
And
now I'm trying to like make it a practice to go right after like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, right before the sun goes down here. Because here in Jersey, it's actually pretty nice outside, so we're trying to get some sun. Trying to do that around 6 and 7, and then back to it.
yeah, but you know what it is? Most people go after work, so like the gyms are always so crowded. The gyms are pretty crowded before work too, but I would say it's not as crowded as after work. But aside
Yeah.
from that, I'm just too tired. I'm too tired to work out. I can't. I give it my all every day on the recruiting field, and last thing I want to do is just sweat or work out afterwards. So I've
Yeah.
tried that. It's not for me. I can't do it.
Yeah, yeah, you just got to figure out what's it for you. For me personally, I just need that break in the middle of the day or like at the end of the day before I finish it off and like just forget about things and then come back to it and then I can think things a little bit more clear. But yeah, I like that break in between the day. But yeah, figure out everybody needs to figure out what's good for them and what fits their schedule.
Nice. So what's in store for the future for you? Just keep chugging along and trying to crank out the deals and do splits together, Steve, and one step at a time.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it is in this game of recruiting. It's always like I got to figure out what's next, and you always have to do that for yourself. So just plugging away, just trying to figure out, who to work with and how to place more candidates and who knows, maybe even expand into like different industries. I always thought about that, but I think for now I'm focused on tech, really figuring out this market. And I'm not here to say that I've made it by any means. I'm still a long way to go. I'm only like my second or third year in recruiting, so I still have a lot to learn and just like to collaborate with good people, good recruiters out there. So
Yeah, you're a youngin, but you're youngin in the industry. But there's things that I've seen what you do that I personally do myself. I it was a no-brainer when I saw the caliber of talents that you're able to bring to the table to kind of make a partnership happen. And I think that is the easiest way to get a partnership going. Like, you have to give value. And that also applies to splits of recruiting partners. If you want to do a split with someone, you got to show that partner that you're willing, to provide value to the table as well, even though there may be some risk and trust on your side that you have to be careful as well. But assuming that like you vetted this person or you think this person's good enough, could be a good human being that's not going to backstab you. Recruiting, as you know, and what I try to show is it's all consuming. You're always doing something. So our time really is very, very limited. Like if I'm not talking to Steve right now, I'm foregoing 2 to 3 4 candidate calls I could be doing right now, right? And so if you want to do splits with a recruiter, you just don't just ask them, try to show them, hey, these are the types of candidates I can bring to the table. Because like if they're great and they're spot on, then the chance of getting a response, like with biz dev with clients, is significantly higher. So I'm excited for you and excited for your career, and it's going to be a rocky, continually hectic, anxiety-ridden 2023 with everything happening with the banking situation and the interest rates and inflation and the recession. It's like layoffs, like nonstop, and so it's uh it's definitely reached a new level of difficulty, which I'm feeling as well. But be consistent, keep showing up. And if the markets are tough, they're not going to be tough forever, or they're not going to be down forever. It's inevitably going to stabilize, and we're going to hit into another bull run sooner than later. So, be strong, be mentally strong, but work fast and just be really good at targeting, and you'll do really well, just like Steve is here. So, Steve, I appreciate your time, and I think a fitting way to just kind of end this is for people that are listening. If people are looking to kind of get into recruiting, they want to run their own agency, they want to work for themselves, what is like the biggest advice that you can share?
My biggest advice would be, first of all, know what you're doing. So that we talked about it earlier. I would really recommend, having that experience from an agency or have some sort of idea and game plan about how you want to do this business. What market you want to focus on, what tools and things like that. It's not that those things are not difficult, but like it's more so like the principles and like figuring out what to say in certain situations or how to deal a counter offer or these other things that don't really happen unless you really experience it yourself. So I think that would be the biggest tip. The other tip would be like time management. I think when I first started out, I think the biggest problem that I had was like I would work on a role for 3 hours and I would look up and it would be like, oh damn, it's already 6 o'clock and I haven't done any BD the whole day. So definitely time manage, because that's the only thing that's limited for us. So like, yeah, certain hours of the day, put it for BD, certain hours of the day, do it for candidate calls. And other than that, yeah, just, really provide value for everybody else and really understand what that value is. Don't be like generic about your approach and don't try to say things like, hey, I have my own recruiting agency. Like, can we help you out? Things like that. You really need to focus on like how you can provide the people around you with value. So yeah, if you got those things down, start it right away. And it's great. It's fun. This is a fun game that we're in. So it's always an up and down, but that's what makes it fun and exciting for everybody, I feel like.
I agree. That's why I'm still doing it. But again, just to kind of hammer the nail in, like values, everything. We are a broker. We are the middle person between, candidates and the clients, and we have to give both sides value. You have to give other recruiters that you partner with value. You have to give everyone value, right? It's all about value and relationships and being a professional and focusing on the long term than just trying to take shortcuts and do quick and dirty wins at a cost of something. Like, you can of course make money that way, but it's not a sustainable business. Nor will it obviously just frankly help with your reputation. If you work in the one market in one city, or it's not, word can get around pretty fast. And so reputation is important, transparency is important, and professionalism relationships is an absolute priority and should be. So Steve, I really, really appreciate your time. I'm happy we're able to do one successful placement together. Here's to hopefully 20 more this year, and looking forward to seeing you continue to crush it and do really, really well. But hope that if you've been listening, you enjoyed Steve's story. If they wanted to reach out to you, they want to do splits with you, they want to work with you in any way, where can they find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not hiding from anybody. Also, if this goes online or something, I'll plug in my email address. But yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Steve Alex, with two E's in the middle of Steve. And yeah, we'll connect. I'm happy to connect with new people. I definitely want to learn from your story and like other people's stories as well. So
beautiful. And I'll make sure to drop
connect
down. Yes, absolutely. Please reach out to him and make sure that you reach out and find him on LinkedIn. I'll make sure to include the website to his agency and also his LinkedIn profile and possibly his email in the description box below as well. So Steve, thanks again, and so sorry for pulling you away from a busy, I'm assuming busy Thursday here from your ongoing deals, and let's keep making it happen, and looking forward to continue working with you.
I loved it, man. This is awesome. This is great vibes. Thank you, Preston.
We'll talk soon. Yep. Take care.